With only a few days left in New York City's mayoral race, Zohran Mamdani is dominating in the polls. He will almost certainly become New York City's next mayor. But despite Mamdani's huge support, he certainly has many detractors. These detractors often depict him as an extremist that will destroy the city with radical policies. In my last video, I discussed his freeze the rent policy. In this video, we'll take a look at another one of his most controversial policies, city-run grocery stores. First, I'll go over what exactly Mamdani's plan is and the reasoning behind it. Then we'll go through the most popular criticisms against city-run grocery stores to see if they hold up to scrutiny. And then we'll conclude by discussing whether Mamdani's policy should be considered radical or reasonable. To start, we'll go over the problem that city-run grocery stores are meant to counter: food deserts. Food deserts are basically residential areas that lack access to healthy food, usually because there are no nearby supermarkets, meaning that the people in those areas cannot easily buy fresh produce or other healthy options. In New York City, roughly 750,000 people live in food deserts, with approximately 3 million fitting a broader definition of living in neighborhoods with low access to grocery stores. This means that these residents are often relying on fast food and consuming higher rates of salt, sugar, trans fats, and carbohydrates than they would be otherwise. Needless to say, this is detrimental for their health, with these people suffering from increased obesity, heart disease, and cancer, and of course having a lower life expectancy. This impact on people's quality of life is bad enough, but the city also incurs a cost in multiple ways, like increased expenses in healthcare and social services, and a decrease in worker productivity and tax revenue. Mamdani plans to use city-run grocery stores to provide these underserved communities with access to healthy and affordable food, starting with a pilot test of one in each borough. These stores will not need to pay property taxes or rent, and will sell their goods at wholesale prices rather than marked up prices. The estimated cost of this program would be about $60 million, which will be reallocated from the over $140 million that the city already plans to spend subsidizing corporate supermarkets. Additionally, these stores will partner with local small businesses and hire union labor, potentially providing some economic stimulation to these low-income neighborhoods. There are two main criticisms levied against Mamdani's plan, which I will go over one at a time. The first is that the government is too inefficient at managing projects like this, so these stores will fail and end up becoming a waste of money. The people saying things like this often bring up the DMV as an example, implying that Mamdani's stores will provide customers with low-quality service while going through nonsensical bureaucratic mazes. While I think it is good to be skeptical of the government's competency, this line of reasoning ignores the bigger picture. The city already provides many services which are thought of much more positively than the DMV, like public libraries, the fire department, and public transportation. While these do have their flaws, no one is arguing that these kinds of services should become privately owned and that this would improve their efficiency or the quality of their service. Another even stronger point that counters this critique is that the city government is already involved in the sale, supply, and distribution of food. I already mentioned earlier the subsidies that go to supermarket chains, but there are also the 6 New York City public markets, which were initially implemented by Mayor LaGuardia in the 1930s. These are properties that the city owns and rents to local vendors at below market rates, allowing them to sell their goods at below market rates. Mamdani's plan, in certain ways, is a scaled-up and more advanced version of this program. And we have already seen that this can successfully and efficiently work on a very large scale in the U.S. Military Commissary, which is a huge network of government-operated stores that sell food and other goods to members of the armed services at a discounted price. The second major criticism of the proposed city-run grocery stores is that they will be unfair competition for privately owned grocery stores and bodegas, so they'll end up hurting local businesses. This claim fundamentally misunderstands the purpose of Mamdani's stores. They are not meant to supplant other businesses or distort the free market. They're meant to strategically intervene in places where the market has failed. Private supermarkets and grocery stores have intentionally either pulled out of or never even entered food deserts because they believe they will not make profits there. As for the bodegas, I do think it is valid to be concerned about them, but we have to keep in mind that they fill a different niche than grocery stores. Bodegas are typically open for longer hours and operate as convenience stores where people can buy hot food, packaged snacks, lottery tickets, and things like that. Whereas the proposed grocery stores will be where people can stock up on raw food like fresh produce. Also, some studies have found that new grocery stores could actually create a spillover effect where nearby businesses profit from the increased foot traffic in the area. So with all this in mind, I don't think these criticisms are very good, and I think Mamdani's grocery store plan is well-founded. While it is a pretty unique policy for a New York politician to promote, it isn't completely unprecedented. I already mentioned the New York City public markets and U.S. Defense Commissary, but there are more examples of successful publicly owned grocery stores or similar programs from around the country and around the world. The St. Paul Supermarket in Kansas, various state-owned liquor stores, the credit cooperatives markets in Turkey, Pilar Suisak in Greenland, and many more. Also considering the fact that this is meant to be a pilot program with only one in each borough to test out the idea, I don't think it's anywhere near accurate to portray Mamdani's plan as radical or extreme. So those are my thoughts. I'm supportive of city-run grocery stores, and I'm curious to see how this plan plays out in the future. Feel free to let me know what you think about all this. I hope this video was informative, and thank you very much for watching.